Welcome to More Than Mindset, the only podcast that bridges the gap between spirituality and success. Go beyond the mind with clarity and confidence coach Kim Guillory and learn how to integrate your passion to serve with your skills and experience to create a business you love. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome back to the show. I am Kim, your host. And today we are diving into mind-body healing and this one very important link or piece that most people leave out, which is why they do not get long-term change. Super important in the last 20 years for myself, this one thing has not changed. So I've been on this mind-body healing frenzy since, around in my 30s, my early 30s is when I realized that there was something going on after I don't know how many surgeries, I guess 10 surgeries by that time. I had had a complete hysterectomy and lots of other things. I was on multiple medications. This was a 24-year hell cycle that I went through. Talk about dark night of the soul. This was a dark night, of course. I call it dark night of the mind because there was so much that could have actually been solved if I would have known what I know now. I definitely wouldn't have had as many surgeries. I wouldn't have been on so much medication. It wouldn't have taken so long, but you don't know what you don't know until you know. And what is it, Tom Sawyer, that says, it ain't what you know that hurts you. It's what you know that just ain't so. That was me. Anyway, today I'm talking about this one link, missing step, missing piece that could be the difference between you getting long-term transformation and you staying in the sick cycle. And it is a very significant piece. And I think most people miss it because it's so hard. But because I'm doing the Find Your Hard challenge, I'm all in for talking about hard things. So here is the missing piece. You're not going to have to wait until the end. I'm going to just spill the beans. And then I'm going to explain what I mean by that. It is your personality, personal reality, your personality, your behavior, your habits, and your perception. You put those together, the way that you behave, the habits that you have, who you think you are, and then the way you see things, and that becomes your personality. And it actually creates your personal, like the lens you look through, personal surroundings, your personal reality. And if your personal reality or your personality is about being the sick one, being unwell, right? Then you have to become someone else or become no one else. That helps also. And that is the part that I see everyone get hung up on because being who you are and who you've been up until now is so familiar. And when someone looks at you, they relate you to when they knew you. So if you haven't seen them for 20 years, they still remember you for who you were, for how you behave, for how you believe, for what you thought. Like, forget the 20 years of personal transformation and change. They just remember their acquaintance with you. And that's where the hangup is. So many of my clients will come to a healing retreat or start coach training, come in and be a private client, and they make a 360 change in the way they see life, the way that they behave. But then their family and friends keep treating them the same. And that's kind of jacks you up. And that is the one missing piece. You have to be willing to die to who you have been. That is what you have to give up. You have to give up the identity of that sick person, of that weak person, of the person who is afraid to get into trouble. Like, whatever that story is, and believe me, there are many, whatever that story is, it has to go with the identity. And most often you guys will give up one and not the other. And that's the problem. So what I want to talk about on the show today is how can you do this in a way that is supported by your nervous system? Because the reason you keep going back, like to the bottom of the crab pot, getting tangled in the environment, is because it's so familiar and you haven't become the new version of yourself, the person that is healed, that is like reaching their potential, that is growing, that is changing, that is thinking and believing differently, creating a better life. You haven't fully become that person yet. So you've maybe thought about the identity, you may be talking different, but you haven't fully embodied this new version of yourself. And because of the confusion, when other people see you and you look the same, then you get kind of sidetracked. So I'll call this dissonance. Dissonance is when you have two conflicting beliefs. So I am changed, I have grown, I am well, I am healed, everything is working out for me. And then there's the other unconscious or subconscious, the old identity that things are limited and it never works out and life is so hard and no one comes to help me. So it's like you have the victim and the victor who are fighting this battle. And the one is winning is the one depending on the environment that you are surrounded by. So when you go home and those people are thinking more on a negative basis and they're remembering the past and they're remembering how you were and they're remembering the struggle and they're in the struggle themselves, then that's when the victim wins. And then the victor is when you put yourself in a higher space with people who think different and act different and who are more empowered. Now, there is no low or high level. These are all stages of the game. And remember, life is a game. You're in a game. Now, what I was talking about last week is I was sitting on the bench. I was no longer in the game. Like I was in the game. I was in the game. I guess I got my ass kicked a few times. I had a few of the cheerleaders that booed at me or people that were in the audience that were booing and saying my hard was unsafe. And that kind of shut me down for a while. And I went into hiding. I went into hermit mode. For those who know human design, the 6-2, the 2 is a hermit. And I like had to go lick my wounds. And then I noticed how weak I got. Oh, weak, procrastination, excuses. And nobody called me on it because they were all making excuses too. Whoo. So I started catching on to this. I mean, to the degree that I was willing to spend a small fortune to move out of my environment 14 hours away. So when I got the place in Florida, I was onto this and I was like, I have to leave my environment because it's stronger than me. And I was traveling out once a month, but it wasn't enough. I needed to stay there long enough to be able to see it all the way through. And I needed to do it by myself. I needed to do it alone, no distractions, no friends, no coaches, like just me being with myself. And man, was it hard. I did not want to look in the mirror. And there's mirrors all over this place. I fell into mediocrity and yeah, average the way everybody else was. And I'm telling you, nobody even challenged me on the excuses. That's terrible, man. You should be getting challenged on every lie you tell yourself. That's why I love coaching because you get called out. But the problem was, I was already doing more than most. And so there was nobody calling it out. So I had to call myself out. And that has not been easy. And in that, I had to change my identity again. And so that's what I'm telling you is because interesting enough, when I fell back into that, guess what else came back? Low back pain. Like I was doing something physical and ring, it caught me. And I was like, oh, hell no. I know exactly what this means. And so I just overrode it, used my process, went through about 72 hours. And I had a friend with me and she kept asking, because I mean, there was times I could not like stand up straight. I couldn't, I was like, whoa, he kept catching me. And I was like, do not call it, do not give it a label, do not ask me. I am fine. I know exactly what this is. And she was like, are you seriously going to drive home like 14 hours? Yeah. I drove 18 and a half hours with no pain. And so for those who understand the mind body syndrome, TMS, Dr. John Sarno's work, the mind body prescription, like any of that work, then you know about somatics and somatic tracking and really understanding what's going on in the body that's coming from the mental and emotional self. Dude, this is serious. Anyway, I'm all good. And I found my hard, And I got back into position, and I can report that it was the identity. It was what I was identifying as. It was the personality. It was what I had become. It was the softening. And just so you know, just so you know, me being softer, having excuses, people pleasing so I wasn't too tough, so people wouldn't get mad at me, so clients wouldn't feel like I was too hard on them, got me nowhere. Let me say it again. Got me nowhere. I was sitting there by myself, disappointed with myself. And so if you wanted to get honest, you lose them anyway. And it's them that doesn't want to look at themselves, that doesn't want to confront themselves. And so don't put out your fire. Don't lower your ambition. Don't get unreal. Stay in your truth. Know what you know. Be who you are. Stop it. It didn't work. I became soft and fluffy, and I did not have more friends. I did not do a better job coaching or at my work. I did not make more money. Nothing worked out better for me by becoming a soft pansy, by tippy-toeing around people's bullshit, especially mine. Doesn't work. So if you're not willing to give up the identity that got you into this in the first place, you're going to keep the chronic pain. You're going to keep the dis-ease, D-I-S-ease, lack of ease in the body. And if you are not fighting for yourself, for your future, for your potential, nobody else will. Understand that? Nobody else will fight for your potential. It's up to you. You're the only one. No one else. No one's coming to save you. No one was coming to save me. You know who was calling me? You know who was coming? No one. I was left with my soft, weak self. Yeah, that shit don't work. Quit being nice. Quit trying to pussyfoot around. Quit trying to be a soft pansy and make everybody like you. Try to belong. Try to fit in. It doesn't work. The only thing you can do is be you. And if you're a tough ass, then be a tough ass. If you're a badass, then be a badass. That's what I got to tell you this week. I got my hard back. I love it. I know that sounds bad. I was like, what are we going to call this? It's kind of like taking Viagra. Whenever you just like get your hard back, it's like, yeah, rock on. And no apologies. I am not apologizing. Instead, I'm going to go change the world with this newly refound energy that is me. It is full on me. This is who I am. Not everybody likes it. Not everybody wants it. Not everybody is open to it. And that's okay. What it did do is earn me a beautiful position being exactly who I am. That's what it did. That's what I earned. That's what I got. But I had to quit being soft because I thought that would prevent me from being rejected, left out, abandoned. That shit didn't work at all. Because you know what happened? I abandoned myself, and there is no greater abandonment than abandoning yourself. All right, this one's short, sweet, and hopefully a kick in the butt. If you have been suffering with chronic pain on and off for years, if you are highly driven, if you're focused and motivated and pain has you down, if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, and you keep getting hit with physical conditions, send me a message, find me on social media, send me an email. If you have friends who are always down and sick, and it's stopping them from reaching their targets and goals. I'm not talking about somebody who can't get out of bed. I'm talking about somebody who is doing big things in the world, and this keeps getting in the way. Man, I can help you clean this up quick, 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 quick. All right. Don't be anybody else. Be you. It's okay if you're badass. It's okay if you're superwoman. It's okay if you're Superman. Nothing is better than being yourself. Have an amazing week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of More Than Mindset.